name is Vanity Jenkins, and currently I work at Teaching Trust in Dallas, Texas. So originally I was born in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Both of my parents grew up there. Both are graduates of South Carolina State University. My dad's parents taught at the university. My mom, his mom, was a professor of English and French at Claflin. His father was the vice president of South Carolina State. And then my mom's parents were also educators. My grandma was a special education teacher for 20 years. And my grandfather was a pastor. So just have a lineage of education in my family. I grew up for most of my life in New Jersey. And then after I graduated, I came back south. And I taught in Mississippi for 4 years. So very, very rural community, very small town. We had one elementary school, one middle school, one high school, and I taught middle school. So just about every subject at some point, 5th through 8th grade, I taught ELA primarily, but I also taught math, science, social studies at some point, just wherever we needed coverage. And then I had an opportunity to come back to South Carolina, where I joined Teach for America staff here in South Carolina. So I started off as a coach for Teach for America, coaching teachers in primarily the Low Country area, so Colleton, Moncks Corner, Goose Creek, and then a little bit of Orangeburg 3, Holly Hill, those areas. And then I led our coaching team, and we covered 10 different districts during my time. And then eventually I led anything having to deal with our teachers, so the recruitment process, coaching, programming, our alumni team, and our institute teams. So did that, really enjoyed it, was not looking to leave South Carolina, and 3 people sent me the same job on the same day for the Dallas opportunity, so I was like, maybe somebody's trying to tell me something. So ended up applying and getting that position, and I moved to Dallas last July. So it hasn't been a year yet. And I think with COVID happening, before COVID I was coming to visit my grandma about once a month, and then travel just stopped, and my grandma was not listening at first with restrictions. She's 82, so sometimes folks don't listen, and I just felt like if I was here I could have just gotten in my car and brought her to my house and made sure she wasn't doing what she wasn't supposed to do. So started trying to figure out how I could come back home. To put it in a nutshell, I think that students should have the opportunity to engage with rigorous coursework, rigorous material, and they should be able to connect what's happening in school to things that they are personally interested in. Again, one of the exciting things about this school is it sort of takes the best parts of education and is putting them in one spot. As a parent, I know that when I'm looking for schools for my daughter, they might have really rigorous academics, but nothing about social emotional learning. Or they might have a great STEM program, but nothing about the arts. Or they might have a really awesome traditional college prep, but there's nothing about project-based learning. And so this school has all of those things encompassed in one place so that students are able to succeed in all of the complexities that they are. Children aren't one-dimensional, and so when you're able to bring all of those things together in one building, I think it will allow students to succeed in a myriad of different ways that's available to them. And I think that the board is so excited and so involved, and that is really key to success. I've worked with boards where it's a small board and you don't really get a lot of input. They want to be there, but they're not 100% in for a lot of reasons. They might still be working or, just have other commitments. I've been involved with boards where everybody's super excited, but folks aren't necessarily aligned. So then there's a lot of push and pull, and the vision is sort of, if you ask different people, there's a different vision from each person. One of the things that I came up yesterday when I was first able to engage with the board, everyone is just so aligned on this school not being good but being great, and I think that alignment will allow the school the board, to work really closely with the executive director to ensure that things are successful. Again, I think the vision for the school is just so smart, and it takes all of the best parts of education and puts them into one, and things that I am just very passionate about. My father is one of 6. He's the only son who did not go into the military on my dad's side, and he was in the arts. And so I grew up in theater, I grew up with dance, I grew up with all of those things, and they made me a better student because I had to learn, ballet is a very, very strict, regimented type of dance. And so, I remember just having to do the same, tendus or plies over and over and over. And when I was little, I didn't really understand it. I'm like, when are we gonna learn to dance? I wanna, I wanna be on stage. But as I got older and had to really learn how to study and those types of things, I already had, I was able to sustain that concentration because of my training in dance. And I think that although people sometimes think about STEM isolated from the arts, isolated from project-based learning, isolated from rigor, that is why you sometimes don't see schools actually succeed, because you really can't do one without thinking about how all of the disciplines are connected. And so I think that will really be a sticking point to the school, because you have all of the different pieces that are intricately connected in one place and at one school that will help facilitate the success of the school. I think about a couple. So one, working at Teach for America, South Carolina, I have either coached or mentored just about every teacher in this state at some point in some capacity. And so thinking about staffing the school, I think that's one area of strength that I would bring in particular, because I think about, Rachel Brayloff, who's been in Orangeburg for 5 years, what would it mean to attract her to this school? She was Teacher of the Year last year or the year before, but what would it mean to attract teachers from across the state to Sumter who have a proven track record of success already? And then I think about some of our alumni who have left the state. There's one woman, Jay Cherie, who's in DC, and I connect with her a couple times a year, and she's always talking about coming back to South Carolina, but there just hasn't been the right opportunity. She's a principal at a high school right now, and she taught in Williamsburg for 3 years, and she loves her kids. She comes to graduation every year. This was the first year she couldn't, of course, but what would it mean for a school like this to happen, that she can actually come back? Yeah, so many things. So one, I think that there is an opportunity to really be vision oriented and vision centered. I am one of the people that really thinks about big picture, what can be possible, what are all of the possibilities, how do we get there? And then two, the work that has been done already is just so incredibly detailed. I think Trevor is just such a great asset to this school, and the work that he's put in from learning about the community and doing focus groups and community tours, and really making sure that he got the perspective of the entire Sumter community before the charter application was even submitted. And being that Trevor is from Sumter and he's worked in the public school district, I think he's just a huge asset. I talked about this already, but I think the board as well, just having support from so many different groups. Things are already sort of set up for success, and then when you think about building something from the ground up, the possibilities are endless. And so, sometimes charter schools start out with middle school, which is, great and is fulfilling a need, but often you are trying to catch kids up from things that they may not have learned when they were in elementary. And so your vision can become skewed if students aren't entering with the background knowledge that they need at the middle school level or at the high school level. But this school, we got to see the building, so we're going to be able to really create whatever it is that is going to meet the needs of the vision and meet the needs of the community. While we were at the school, someone drove by and said, I live in this community and I would love to help just get the grounds back together. And so it's not only about the school, but it's also about making sure that the community is involved and invested in job creation and all of those types of things that, again, make a community really vibrant. And so I think that there are just so many opportunities for the community to be involved in the vision and in the school from an early standpoint. I think about the kids who, entering in kindergarten and first, they don't know what school is yet. And so you're able to create a world where they're not coming in with preconceived notions about school being boring or not liking teachers or whatever it is that, happens by the time you get in middle school. As a middle school teacher, they have all the thoughts and feelings about school at that point. But you're really able, yes. You're really able to create for them what school is at that age, and that's just really, really exciting. So I love basketball. I played basketball probably from 5th through 12th grade. And I am a huge fan of women's basketball in particular. So Dawn Staley and the women at USC are just awesome. I worked with Coach Vivian Stringer when I was at Rutgers, and Coach Law was there, who's now at USC. She's also from South Carolina. So I really love sports, and that is one of my hobbies on the weekends. Yeah, I mean, there are so many different things. So one, when I was working at Teach for America, the drive and passion that I had was just so significant because in Orangeburg, I still have a lot of family there. So we weren't talking about, hypothetical kids. I literally have cousins and family members who are in public schools in Orangeburg. And so I always set the bar extremely high because I wanted to make sure that the education that our teachers were providing would match something that I would want to send my own daughter to. And I think it's very similar in Sumter. South Carolina, historically has not had great results in education, even since my parents were here. They used to joke and say, thank God for Mississippi and Alabama. That's why, South Carolina isn't 50. And that notion has remained the same pretty much since my parents were in school. And I think over the last 10 years, Mississippi has really started to change things up. They've been moving up the scale, and South Carolina hasn't yet. And so I think it's really important for opportunities like this. We have great educators in South Carolina. We have great parents. There's not a person I've ever spoken to in the state that does not care about education, but how can we get the right people in the room so that we can actually make sustainable change, so that kids are getting what they deserve. I think Sumter is a budding community that's growing. There's so many wonderful things happening downtown, new restaurants, new businesses, so many great industries here, from engineering, BD, Continental Tire, etc. And unfortunately, a lot of times people have to move here for those jobs because there's not a pathway for people to just walk into those jobs after graduating high school. And so I think education is one way that you can really ensure that a community stays vibrant over time. If kids are able to step into jobs if they want as soon as they graduate high school or go to college and come back. And so you really want to make sure education is one of the pieces to ensuring that a community is vibrant. And I think that this opportunity with the Sumter STEAM Charter, a little bit of a tongue twister, is one way to really make sure that those opportunities are present.